The hidden power of Earth. The deep void of space stretched endlessly before the celestial whisper, a sleek exploration vessel that had traversed the stars for centuries, cataloging young civilizations. Captain Veltrax Varin, a veteran of the Silent Dominion, stood with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing out of the reinforced observation deck. His species, the Sileni, were among the elder races of the galaxy, their advanced technology allowing them to travel between systems undetected. Their mission today was routine: observe a primitive world known as Sol 3, or as its inhabitants called it, Earth. Their records suggested that humans were barely past their industrial age, primitive beings still experimenting with crude spaceflight. The mission was simple: analyze, document, and determine if the species posed any long-term threat to the Dominion. Veltrax turned toward his lead analyst, Commander Ithrex, a tall, insectoid being with multifaceted eyes that gleamed with intelligence. Begin passage scans. Let's confirm that their development aligns with our last recorded data. Ithrex's thin fingers moved over the holo interface, sending waves of invisible energy to probe the planet. He frowned. Strange. Veltrax narrowed his eyes. What is it? There's interference, some form of masking field. It's subtle, but it's preventing us from getting clear readings. Ithrex recalibrated the scanners, his mandibles clicking in frustration. It's like looking through mist. Veltrax's expression hardened. That wasn't supposed to be possible. A species at this technological level shouldn't have the ability to hide from Sileni quantum sensors. He was about to order a deeper scan when a warning alarm blared through the ship. Alert. Unknown energy. SCI-Fi DTE. Multiple OGTTs. APPROACH. Get fast. Veltrax snapped his gaze to the tactical screen. Several objects, moving at impossible speeds, were closing in on their position. Impossible, he muttered. Captain. Ithrex's voice trembled. We've been detected. Veltrax's mind raced. That was impossible. The celestial whisper was equipped with stealth technology far beyond anything a young race could perceive. And yet, a crisp, commanding voice echoed through their ship's communication array. Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted Earth space. Power down your engines and prepare for inspection. Veltrax felt a chill crawl through his exoskeleton. The message was in perfect universal standard, the common language of the galactic community. No translation errors, no delay. This cannot be, Ithrex whispered. They shouldn't even know we are here. Veltrax turned sharply toward his pilot. Pull back. Activate quantum slitstream. The ship shuddered violently as an unknown force locked their propulsion systems in place. Their most advanced escape technology, useless. Their ship had been disabled in an instant. The tactical screen flickered, revealing the approaching vessels. At first glance, they looked crude, angular, metallic constructs that seemed centuries behind Sileni engineering. But Veltrax noticed details that sent a pulse of fear through his chest. Subtle energy fields surrounded them, shielding them from conventional scans. Their hulls were forged from materials that shouldn't exist outside galactic core forges. Their weapons, though appearing basic, radiated powerful signatures beyond even Sileni capabilities. Ithrex's voice wavered. Captain, these ships were never in our database. They must have been hidden from our sensors all along. Veltrax clenched his jaw. A race of primitive beings should not have been capable of hiding from one of the most advanced sensor arrays in the galaxy. Another message came through. The same voice, calm but unyielding. This is Commander Adrian Locke of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are violating interstellar treaty protocols. Identify yourselves immediately. Veltrax took a slow breath. Earth Defense Fleet. There was no record of such a force existing. Humanity wasn't even considered a space-faring power, let alone one with a fleet. He knew there was no way to escape, so he did the only thing he could. He responded. "This is Captain Veltrax Varin of the Sileni Dominion vessel Celestial Whisper. We are an exploration ship, conducting peaceful research." He hesitated before adding, "We believe your world to be pre-spacefaring." A long silence. Then, something unexpected. A soft chuckle came through the transmission. "Many do, Captain." That was the moment Veltrax knew something was terribly wrong. The voice on the other end wasn't surprised, nor was it confused. It was amused. "Captain," Ithrix whispered, "we're being hailed again. They wish to board our ship." Veltrax felt a weight settle in his chest. This was no ordinary species. Humanity was hiding something. And they had just stumbled into the truth. Humanity's hidden dominion. Veltrax Varin had encountered many strange civilizations in his long service to the Sileni Dominion, but never had he felt such unease. Humanity was supposed to be young, a species barely crawling toward the stars. Yet here they were, detecting his ship instantly, disabling its engines effortlessly, and now demanding to board his vessel. The silence on the bridge was thick with tension. His crew's eyes, some nervous, others outright terrified, reflected the unsettling reality they had just uncovered. "Commander," Veltrax spoke, keeping his voice measured, "what are our options?" Ithrix ran his long, clawed fingers over the holo interface again, attempting to regain control of their systems. "Quantum drive is locked. Sublight propulsion, unresponsive. Energy fields surrounding the ship are preventing all outgoing transmissions. Captain, we are at their mercy." That was not something a Sileni commander was accustomed to hearing. Veltrax exhaled slowly. There was no way out. Running was impossible. Fighting was suicidal. The only course left was diplomacy. "Open the docking bay," he ordered. Ithrix hesitated. "Captain, they've left us no choice." With a reluctant nod, Ithrix pressed a sequence on his console, disengaging the docking bay's external barriers. A moment later, the tactical display showed a human vessel approaching, its dark hull almost blending into the blackness of space. It was smaller than the Sileni cruiser, yet Veltrax suspected its size was deceptive. The ship moved with graceful precision, docking seamlessly against the Celestial Whisper. A brief pause followed. Then, a metallic hiss. The airlock engaged. Veltrax stood tall, motioning for his guards to lower their weapons but remain alert. The crew exchanged wary glances. Then, the doors slid open. 3 figures stepped onto the ship. At first glance, they appeared unremarkable. Humans clad in dark, form-fitting uniforms with no visible insignias. No extravagant designs, no show of power. And yet, something about them felt unnatural. Veltrax had studied humans from afar, their recorded history, their erratic evolution, wars, conflicts, breakthroughs, and perseverance. But these humans moved differently, with absolute certainty. The one in the center, broad-shouldered, silver-streaked hair, sharp eyes, stepped forward. He carried no visible weapon, yet Veltrax felt as though the man could command an entire battlefield with a mere glance. His voice, calm yet firm, resonated through the bridge. "Captain Veltrax Varin," he said, "I am Commander Adrian Locke of the Earth Defense Fleet." Veltrax inclined his head slightly. "I was not aware that Earth possessed an interstellar military force." Locke smirked. "There's a lot about Earth that no one is aware of." The statement sent a ripple of discomfort through the Sileni crew. Veltrax chose his next words carefully. "We were under the impression that your species had only recently begun exploring beyond your own orbit." Locke's smirk deepened. "And that's exactly what we wanted you to believe." Veltrax's stomach tightened. That answer confirmed his growing suspicion. Humanity was not what the galaxy thought they were. "I assume," Locke continued, taking a slow step forward, "that your mission was one of observation." Veltrax hesitated. Lying seemed pointless. They already knew. "Yes." Locke nodded, as if expecting that answer. "You thought you were studying us. His voice remained neutral, almost amused. "But tell me, Captain, did it ever occur to you that we were studying you?" The Sileni officers stiffened. A whisper of realization passed through them. Veltrax, however, kept his expression neutral. "You claim to have knowledge beyond what the galactic community is aware of. If that is the case, why remain hidden?" Locke glanced at his officers, then back at Veltrax. "Because, Captain, we are not young." The words struck like a thunderclap. Veltrax blinked. "Explain." Locke exhaled, tilting his head slightly. "I'm sure your Dominion believes it has existed for tens of thousands of years, that you're one of the elder species of this galaxy." He crossed his arms. "And yet, how much of that history has been truly verified?" Veltrax narrowed his gaze. "What are you implying?" Locke gave a small, knowing smile. "That the history you've been told is incomplete." Veltrax could hear his crew shifting nervously behind him. Locke continued, "You believe humanity is new to space travel, that we are primitive compared to your so-called elder races." He gestured to the ship around him. "You look at your technology and assume you are advanced. But let me ask you, Captain, how much of it was truly discovered by your kind, and how much was merely remembered?" Silence. A tense, heavy silence. Veltrax's mind reeled. Was this human suggesting that the Sileni were not as advanced as they believed? That humanity, the species thought to be young and inexperienced, had knowledge beyond their own. "This is ridiculous," Ithrex muttered. "Humans were barely leaving their own system a century ago." Locke glanced at the insectoid officer and simply said, "That's what we wanted you to think." A cold realization settled over the crew. Humanity had deceived the galaxy. For how long? Decades? Centuries? And if what Locke was implying was true, had humanity been far older than even the Sileni themselves? Veltrax inhaled slowly. His instincts told him that Locke was not bluffing. The precision of their technology, the seamless way they had trapped a ship generations beyond their supposed capabilities, the certainty in Locke's voice, all of it pointed to a singular truth. Humanity had been playing a game the rest of the galaxy hadn't even realized existed. Veltrax met Locke's gaze. "Why reveal this now?" Locke's expression darkened, his smirk fading. "Because something is coming." The weight in his voice sent a chill through Veltrax's core. Locke's sharp eyes locked onto his. "And when it arrives, Captain, your Dominion won't be able to stop it." Veltrax felt his throat tighten. For the first time in his long career, he was afraid. The Forgotten War. Captain Veltrax Farron had always considered himself a rational being, a scholar of history and a tactician of the stars. He had studied the rise and fall of empires, the delicate balance of power between elder species, and the slow but inevitable march of time that shaped civilizations. And yet, as he stood face to face with Commander Adrian Locke, an unassuming human who had just shattered his entire perception of galactic history, he found himself grappling with an entirely unfamiliar emotion: doubt. Humanity wasn't supposed to be powerful. They weren't supposed to possess fleets capable of disabling an elder race's most advanced ships with the flick of a switch. They weren't supposed to know about the wider galactic community, let alone claim they had been studying it from the shadows. And now, this man, this human, was telling him that something was coming. Something even the Sileni Dominion could not stop. Veltrax's mandibles clicked together as he exhaled sharply. "You speak in riddles, Commander Locke. If humanity possesses such knowledge, then I suggest you be clear. What is coming?" Locke studied him for a moment, as if weighing how much to reveal. His silver-streaked hair caught the dim artificial lighting of the Celestial Whispers Bridge, making him look older than he likely was. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. "A war." Veltrax frowned. "War is nothing new. The Dominion has seen countless conflicts." Locke's lips curled slightly. "Not like this one." Veltrax crossed his arms. "I assume you intend to elaborate." Locke turned to one of his officers, a woman with auburn hair and piercing green eyes. She stepped forward, pressing a small, unmarked device onto the holotable in the center of the bridge. The moment it made contact, a projection flickered to life, a visual unlike anything Veltrax had ever seen. At first, it appeared to be a star map, but as the display zoomed out, his stomach tightened. The map kept expanding, far beyond the borders of the known galaxy. And then, the anomalies appeared. Scattered across the dark void of intergalactic space were regions of absolute nothingness. Not empty space, but something worse. Entire sections of the projection were marked with red warning indicators, as if the data itself refused to acknowledge whatever lay beyond them. Veltrax had seen countless stellar maps before, but never one like this. He looked up sharply. "What am I looking at?" Locke clasped his hands behind his back. The remnants of the last war. Silence. Veltrax's mind raced. The last war. There were no records of any such event. As far as the Silene Dominion was concerned, the only large-scale conflicts that had ever occurred were among younger civilizations, skirmishes that paled in comparison to the ancient empires of the core worlds. He turned to Ithrex, who was still staring at the projection with unreadable insectoid eyes. Cross-reference this with our archives. Ithrex's mandibles twitched as he began rapidly cycling through the Dominion's historical records, searching for anything that could explain what they were seeing. After a long moment, he turned back to Veltrax. "Captain," Ithrex said slowly, "there is no record of this war anywhere in our database." Veltrax's gaze snapped back to Locke. "Are you suggesting an entire war, one that spanned beyond the galaxy, was simply erased from history?" Locke didn't smile this time. His expression was grim. "Not erased, Captain. Forgotten." Veltrax took a slow step forward, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the dim glow of the holomap. "By whom?" Locke's eyes darkened. "By everyone." Veltrax felt a slow, creeping dread settle in his chest. "This war," Locke continued, "was fought before the first empires of your kind ever rose from the ashes of their primitive pasts, before the Dominion ever knew the stars." He gestured toward the anomalies on the map. "The scars of that war still remain. Whole sectors of reality twisted and broken, where light does not travel, and where time no longer functions as it should." Veltrax stared at the red-marked voids. His scientific mind recoiled at the impossibility of it, but his instincts, the same instincts that had kept him alive through decades of command, told him that this man was not lying. "How?" he asked, barely above a whisper. Locke took a long breath. "Because humanity was there." The words sent shockwaves through the bridge. Ithrex took a step back, his mandibles clicking in disbelief. Other officers exchanged wary glances, uncertain whether they had misheard. Veltrax, however, kept his eyes locked onto Locke. "Explain." Locke exhaled. "You believe humans are a young species, that we've only just begun to reach beyond our homeworld. But what if I told you that Earth is not our first home?" Veltrax's breath caught. Locke continued, his voice measured but firm. "The truth, Captain, is that humanity is ancient, older than any empire you've ever known, older than the Silene Dominion, older than the stars you claim as your own." Veltrax stared, trying to process the sheer absurdity of the claim. "No," Ithrex finally said. "That is impossible. We would have known." Locke turned to him. "Would you?" A tense silence followed. Locke sighed, then gestured back toward the map. "This war, the war that no records exist of, was fought between humanity and something else, something we barely survived." Veltrax's claws tightened against his forearms. "And what was it?" Locke's gaze turned steely. "We called them the Eternals." The name sent a chill through the bridge. There was something about it, something primal, something that made even the Silene officers shift uncomfortably. Veltrax's voice was low. "And what happened to them?" Locke's answer was simple. "We killed them." Veltrax's breath stopped. Locke held his gaze. "Every last one." For a long moment, no one spoke. The bridge was deathly silent. Veltrax felt his thoughts spinning in a dozen directions at once. If what Locke was saying was true, if humanity had truly fought and destroyed an enemy powerful enough to be erased from history, then that meant they weren't just survivors. They were executioners. And now something else was coming. Something worse. Locke turned off the holomap and met Veltrax's gaze once more. "You wanted the truth, Captain." He took a slow step forward. "Now you have it."